we're live on YouTube, and I think we are live, which is great. So, welcome to our YouTube audience as well. And we're going to get into today's topic. All right. So, recently I was at the hospital with my mom, and there are lots of different diagnostic tests that they will run at a hospital. So, for example, they're going to check all your vital signs, which is really important, your blood pressure. They're going to do blood work. Sometimes they'll do a CAT scan. Sometimes they'll do an MRI. There's all these diagnostic tools. But one of the things that we know that they're actually not checking for is the health of your microbiome, right? 90% of who you are is your microbiome. And if you haven't read the book 10% Human, it is absolutely eye opening. We went through it on this show. So if you want to go back and look at some of the previous episodes where I talk about this book chapter by chapter, another book I would recommend if you're learning about the microbiome for the first time is Super Gut by Dr. Davis, and I think William Davis. I think you're going to love that one too. So, those are some of my book recommendations to kick off the show. But today we're talking about these four things that you really need to make sure that you have in your daily routine that the healthcare system is not focusing on, and it really is critical to your current health and also the fate of your longevity. What are those years in the future going to look like, and how can you set yourself up for success? So, number one, and first and foremost, is a probiotic, and it has to be a multi strain probiotic. And I have the probiotics here. I just want to make sure that I can show you. Yep, here we go. So this is a brand new product by doTERRA. It's called PB Restore. And I've done a lot of research, and I can share with you that there isn't any product on the market that has everything this has. Now, you can buy all these strains individually, and online, and then take, 24 different pills in a day. I don't really want to do that. So I'm really excited that doTERRA put everything in this one capsule. And I'm so excited about what this does that I'm going to break this down for you in future episodes. And we're going to talk exactly about why this product is working so well in your body, and also the how of how it's working in your body. But one of the things that you need to understand, it's relationship to microplastics. So I remember saying to someone years ago that the crisis that's coming in the future, which is already here, is the crisis of plastics. We have these things that we've created that don't break down. When we talk about detoxification and keeping your body strong and what the body was prepared to deal with, we really weren't talking about the things we have access to today. So, with industrialization, one of the things we did is we went mining, right? We went deep into the earth, and we started to bring up from the earth these resources, these heavy metals that we use for energy and for driving our cars and fossil fuels and all of this. And so the benefits of those things are our ease of transportation, the fact that our houses are warm and cool in the summer, the fact that we have energy to cook our foods and things like that. But the negative side of going in and digging up all these heavy metals and these fossil fuels is that your body doesn't know how to deal with them. Now, remember, there are entry points to your body that you have to be mindful of all the time. Your nose, your lungs, right? What we breathe in, your skin, what you absorb, because, think of your skin as the largest organ of the body, and it is a two-way street. It's like a sponge. So it is able to respirate, right? It's able to get rid of things, but also able to soak things in. So it's not Teflon, which means that you are somewhat vulnerable to outside threats. And it used to be that the environment protected us from those outside threats because the things that were toxic were hidden deep in the ground. But we know now, with the industrial age and with the coming of plastics, we see plastics everywhere. And big plastics aren't a problem. So, for example, I'm going to grab a plastic water bottle here just to show you. So, this plastic water bottle, and I don't recommend this, but if I were to accidentally swallow this bottle cap and somehow not choke and die, and it would go through my system, it would come out the other end. It would be egested. So we have digestion and we also have egestion. So egestion is the things that we can't digest and they just get pooped out. But when things get really, really small, that's where it becomes dangerous. And the physical barriers that we have and the physical mechanisms that we have to rid our bodies of things that we don't want and don't use actually aren't there. And so we have two things when it comes to plastics that we have to be really, really careful of. One is called a microplastic. That's when plastics becomes really, really small. And we see these in the ocean a lot just by the physical attack that water, stones, fish, wildlife, whatever, when they attack these plastics, they start to break them down and they get broken, physically broken into small particles. Those are called microplastics. But then there's also these bacteria that we're discovering, and this may be a solution to how we actually get rid of the plastics in the world that start to break down the microplastics into nanoplastics. Now, unfortunately, ingestion of microplastics and nanoplastics is very, very dangerous. It can affect your immune system, which means that you could end up, if you have too much built up in your system, you could end up with a chronic condition like an autoimmune disease or cancer, or a blood disease. If they get into your blood in high amounts, you could also end up with digestive disorders, even allergies. And what people don't really realize is that the ingestion of microplastics actually raise your potential to become obese and not be able to lose weight by 145 times what normally your body would be able to do. And when we do tests on human beings in the modern world, we discover that actually we have stored away quite a bit of microplastics and certainly nanoplastics as well. Now, nanotechnology is something you really want to be careful of when it comes to things like your personal care products. So, I'm first going to tell you what to get rid of and make sure that you're not doing. Of course, there's the biggies like overconsumption of alcohol, marijuana, any other kind of drugs, over the counter drugs, prescription medication. All of these carry with them a lot of toxins that we can't break down in our body that can lead to a pathway of disease and aging. Certainly, any kind of airborne toxin, like whether it's car exhaust or secondhand smoke, things like that, those also build up in your body, can cause lots and lots of problems. But today I want to talk about what you can do because there's certain things that you can't avoid, right? So avoid as much as you can. And what you can't avoid, we're going to talk about getting rid of with these four different things that you should be doing every day to make sure that you're achieving optimal health. The first thing is, and one thing I always sworn by, is the consumption of tea. Ideally, the best quality tea that you can buy. And if it's green, it's even better. But even if you're drinking black tea, there is a benefit. Black tea is just green tea that's been fermented or oxidized in the sun. It's not a fermentation process like you would think of with beer. It's actually an oxidation that occurs in the sun. And actually, that oxidation produces all kinds of really good flavors and also preserves the tea longer. So it has a longer shelf life than a green tea. But what's in the tea that's really important that we have to keep in mind are all of these different amino acids. And those amino acids are there. And what a beautiful thing. They're actually really, really good at removing microplastics from the body. Now, doTERRA has something called Serenity Soft Gels, and I would like you to add these into your daily routine, 2 at night. One, it's going to promote a restful night's sleep. It's going to prolong the amount of time that you sleep. And there's actually an entire sleep system that I'd recommend. But today I'm really talking about your long-term health. Now, two reasons I want you to take this product. One is you have something called the it's a detox system in your brain. So when you think of getting rid of toxins from your body, you have the lymphatic system. And by the way, you have to move for your lymphatic system to move. So even if you're bedridden, you have to move your arms and your legs and wiggle around to get that lymphatic system pumping out those toxins. Um, but you have something called the glymphatic system in the brain that only takes place when you get a really good restful night's sleep. And this is going to promote the restful night's sleep so that the glymphatic system can rid your body of some of these microplastics. But there's also the um, glutamine and glutamate that is found in this product that's going to help you to remove those microplastics. So when I say, what are the things missing from healthcare? That green tea and all the amino acids are critical to each and every person's health, especially in a world of industrialization and high consumption of microplastics. So we have an antidote to it, but we have to make sure that everybody knows about it and that everybody's doing this on a daily basis. Now, you can't drink green tea before you go to bed because there's caffeine in it. And even though it is tempered by the L-theanine in the green tea, it's not going to be enough to prevent you from staying awake because it blocks something called adenosine in the body, which is the thing that makes us sleepy as the day goes on. So ideally, you want to be awake in the morning and sleepier as the day goes on. But if you're drinking a lot of caffeinated drinks, that's not going to happen. So this is going to help to block the caffeine, increase your glutamate, and help your lymphatic system to detox those microplastics, especially from your brain. So, this to me is a must have, must take every day. And again, I could talk about the sleep system on its own. The second thing you need is that the best time for us to get to these microplastics is during digestion. So, we are breathing them in, we are absorbing them into our skin, and we are eating them, believe it or not. These are coming up through the soil and they are being ingested by the animals that we eat, the fish that we eat. We hear a lot about the toxins in fish and that you should stay away from fish. And then there's farm raised fish that are full of antibiotics, and you should stay away from antibiotics because you don't want to eat meat and fish and things that have antibiotics in them because that causes problems for your microbiome. So after a while, it's like, gosh, what can I eat? Well, the most important thing to do is make sure that when you're eating to combat these toxins, you're taking a full spectrum digestive enzyme like Terrazyme from doTERRA. And you can see all of the digestive enzymes that are included in this one capsule. I take 3 a day. I take them with food because when I'm ingesting those microplastics, not willingly, not wantingly, but just passively, I want to make sure that I'm also removing as many as I possibly can. And so between getting rid of them at night with my Serenity, while I'm eating, I'm getting rid of them with Terrazyme. Now, speaking of eating, you want to make sure that the foods that you eat also are really high in glutamate. And that comes from meats, it comes from eggs, it comes from dairy foods. And you may say, well, I don't eat a lot of those products. So, one of the things I would highly recommend is doTERRA protein. So, you have to make sure when you're taking protein that you're eating a really, really clean source. Now, we have a vegan version and a whey version. The whey version comes in vanilla and chocolate. This is my favorite one. This is the plant version of the protein. It's vegan. It's pea based and it has brown rice powder in it, flaxseed. I love all of this, and it has the glutamate in it. So this is also going to bind to the microplastics. So this can be a meal replacement if you're trying to reduce your food consumption and thin out a little bit. But more importantly, this can actually be something that you take during the day as sort of a small meal or a snack. I like to mix it with kefir, which of course is a fermented food. We know fermented foods are really good for our microbiome. So we want to focus on making sure that we check the box, right, on our fermented foods, that we check the box on our protein. And of course, this is a perfect combination, taking your protein with your Terrazyme, because you're going to get the dual action of removing the microplastics from the digestive system before they become dangerous. And it's also going to help kind of reduce the load on your liver, because when they talk about, I've been watching a few TED talks from doctors, and they're like, oh, you can't really detox the liver, and you're spending all this money on detoxes, and it's actually not true. And I thought, that's really interesting, because I do know that you can clean anything. And so that doesn't hold up to me from a scientific standpoint. I think it's really important that what we put into our body is clean, and the cleaner that of the things that we put in, the cleaner that our organs are going to be. And we have restorative things that we can put in those organs as well. So again, I went through the list of the don'ts earlier in the show, and now we're going through the do's. And between those two, you're going to end up with healthy filtering organs like liver and kidneys. And remember, all medications come with a kidney liver warning, every single solitary one. Why is that? Because of the microplastic content, and because a lot of these drugs lack the bioavailability needed to enter the system in a way that doesn't have side effects. If you read the label of any drug, it's going to have a list of side effects. If you're eating clean and you're using natural products like essential oils and herbs, you're not going to have that warning, because your body knows what to do with it, and there aren't any chemicals that are going to be left behind. So we do not want those chemicals left behind. So the last of the four things I want to talk about today is, well, I guess the only other aspect of the PB Restore that I wanted to touch upon, and I may have dropped it, is actually a sachet that's specifically for your digestion. So if you are not sure what your microbiome health is, I would recommend that you go get a microbiome test. And there are several of them on the market today. Don't recommend any particular one. You can do that research on your own. You may actually even get a doctor to write a prescription for a microbiome test, but that's really important to know where you stand. And then if your microbiome is weak, you really, really want to pump it up with a lot of these different bacteria. Remember, I was telling you all these different strains, right? That's amazing. More than any other product on the market in one pill. You want to start nurturing while you eat, taking one of these so that those microplastics can be removed from your system. You also want to take your Terrazyme at the same time. And I take the stick version of this PB Restore, which is specifically for the gut, specifically for the microbiome. I take them both together. You could take one with one meal, one with the other. I'm now taking both with the two meals that I eat during the day. I've decided that fasting is something that's good for me and is showing me good results. So I went from 3 meals to 2 meals, which to me was not a big burden. And it actually played into my lifestyle really well. I have done other shows on the benefits of fasting. I hope that you'll take a look into fasting as a good way to actually support your organs, because it gives them time to rest. And when you rest, you actually restore those filtering organs. So one more time, just as a review, the four big things that I think are missing from healthcare today are: number one, a clean source of protein. Again, I like the doTERRA vegan protein the best. It's my favorite, but there's also a whey protein. Why? Because glutamate that's in this is going to help remove microplastics that are leading to all kinds of diseases. It's also going to, it's a neuroprotector, protective amino acid. It's also good for your cardiac system. It's good for weight management, and it's great for energy. But specifically for those plastics that we're trying to get out, those obesogens, the things that are keeping us sick and fat, we need good sources of protein. This would be an excellent source. High in glutamate, that's what you're looking for. Secondly, Every time you eat, you want to take Terrazyme. Now, for those of you who are on the doTERRA MetaPower system, it has been recommended that you take the MetaPower Assist at the beginning of the meal and Terrazyme at the end of the meal. And that's fine. You can actually take them together too. They don't really interfere with each other. But if you're concerned, take your MetaPower Assist at the beginning and your Terrazyme at the end. Remember, food stays in your body about 3 hours. So it's not that, oh, I ate and now I'm empty. It doesn't work that fast. So you have time to add these things if it feels like, wow, this is a consumption of a lot of pills, or it's a lot for me to do. It's okay. Just get this done within that 3 hour period of eating, and you're going to be just fine. And then, of course, before you eat or with your meal, do take a probiotic like PB Restore. And there's only one like PB Restore, so I'm recommending this one. Again, it has the ability to actually break down, eat, consume those microplastics. And if you think it's sort of sci-fi, this concept that bacteria could possibly eat plastics, look at what's going on in plastic disposal waste management in the world today. When they're talking about removing it from the oceans and they're talking about removing it from the environment, the number one tool they're using right now is plastic eating bacteria. And so you want that in your body too. Remember, most of us, when we take in plastics, we're not swallowing like a plastic bottle cap whole. What we're swallowing is all the tiny little particles that are leaching from our bottles, our drugs, our containers, our food containers. Anytime your food or water hits plastic or your makeup hits plastic, it has the potential to absorb those microplastics and then you consume them. So, and it's invisible. So the best defense is going to be a good offense with these four things. All right. And lastly, but not least, the Serenity gel caps at night. This is going to help your lymphatic system detox your brain. It's going to help you sleep long. And again, it has that glutamate in it, which is really important for breaking down the microplastics. And this comes from the green tea extract that's found in here that's caffeine free. So you can't just say, I don't want to take these capsules. I'm going to substitute it with green tea, because there's too much caffeine in the green tea for you to actually achieve what you want to achieve by getting that good night's sleep and using the glutamate to pull out the microplastics. I firmly believe that if you're using those four things every day, you're getting good, clean protein, you're taking an enzyme, you're using the probiotic, and you're taking Serenity at night with the L-theanine and the glutamine and the green tea extract, all of that is going to set you up for a successful purging of the microplastics that are causing us so many health problems. So remember, when you come to my show, all the information is free. I hope that you'll take it and share it with someone that you love, someone that you care about, and someone who's ready to make a change for higher vitality and longer longevity in your life. We'll be back next week with another episode and an interesting topic. I hope that you'll enjoy. If you like this topic, please put a comment in the comment section. If you have any questions, you can do that too. And I will do my best to get back to you in a timely manner. I really appreciate you and you're spending this time with me. I'll see you next week.